Right, I think I am live. Hey, good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our Learn Ultra roadmap session today. Before we dive into the detail of the roadmap, though, I actually wanted to start us off with a very quick overview of our product vision and direction for Learn Ultra, basically explaining where do we see ourselves go in the next 3 to 5 years, what are the areas that we really want to focus on, that we want to be good at, and what are some of the things that we are not going to do. And so this and this product vision, this product direction manifests itself in something that we refer to as the 5 core product pillars. And those pillars essentially represent the main areas of focus. And so the first one, it all starts with a central pedagogy pillar, which is that mix between actionable and personalized insights informed by rich data on the one hand, and then blended with deep research-informed pedagogical understanding and community best practice on the other hand. And then there's four additional pillars that sit around the central pedagogy pillar. The first one being progress. So this is basically the idea that we need to show instructors and learners where they are at, how they're doing, and what to do next. The third pillar is what we call efficiency. This is basically needing to be built around the instructors and students' natural workflow. And this is probably the most obvious pillar, but it doesn't make it less important at all. Now, the becoming quicker and more valuable over time piece of this, I actually think is a really interesting area where the kind of blend between the art and science of education really starts to come in, and where there's some really rich opportunities for actionable and personalized insights to be exposed. The fourth pillar is what we refer to as collective, and this is probably the pillar that has gained the most importance because of the pandemic, and it's basically the idea of kind of needing to create a shared experience. And this is all about how the LMS, especially in a fully online environment, can actually feel like quite a lonely, quite a cold place, while kind of in contrast, the pedagogical research shows that a sense of belonging with the institution, with the instructor, with their program, with the course, as well as with their peers, is actually a key contributor to student success. So this pillar is not about building a social network at all, but it's really about making sure that we provide the right triggers for some of that sense of belonging to be created. And then the last pillar is what we call best in class, and that is all about deep and seamless integrations with best in class tools and resources. And what's really important here, though, is that we don't think that the traditional kind of LTI integration is sufficient anymore. We really see a lot of value in more seamless and deeper integrations that really show up in logical places inside of the workflow, where data flows back and forth in logical ways, and it just feels like it's part of the experience rather than something that's been bolted on. And so these pillars are definitely something that you'll see us kind of increasingly talk about going forward, because, I mean, honestly, we think this is really important. I mean, it's the output of lots and lots of conversations with students, with instructors, with institutions, and we believe in it quite strongly. And it's also important because it's something that we use internally as an internal working tool on a daily basis. It's essentially, it kind of acts as our internal compass to help us make prioritization decisions, roadmap decisions, and we're kind of ideally looking for features and capabilities that have overlap with most of these pillars, if not all of these pillars. And so obviously this vision, this direction will continue to evolve over time, but I think it provides a pretty good idea of kind of some of the areas that we're planning to focus on and where we're trying to go. And as we go through the detailed roadmap today, I'm hoping that you'll recognize these pillars kind of throughout the features that we'll be talking about. Right. I also wanted to spend just a minute before we go into the kind of the meat of the content. I wanted to spend just a minute on providing a little bit of detail on how roadmap is actually determined, and it's useful to understand that there's lots and lots of different sources of input that go into a roadmap. There's UX activities, user feedback, client feedback, there's user groups, there's market research, there's usage data, and so on. So there's lots of different things that kind of go into that roadmap. It's then really important that we kind of pick the items that align with the product vision, the product direction, the product pillars. And that then ultimately leads to a prioritized list, which is what we'll be going through today. Just taking one small step back in terms of UX activities, which is really important, did want to do a really quick plug for two large UX research projects that we have kicking off here at BB World. One is a holistic review of our assessment and grading workflows within Ultra, really with a focus on efficiency, usability, as well as the emotional state throughout those workflows. And we have a second project kicking off as well around essentially doing research around opportunities for actionable and contextual insights or data that can be embedded and surfaced inside of the Ultra course experience. And this is obviously going to be a significant area of focus going forward. So we are still actively looking for students and instructors to participate in this research. So if this is of any interest or you know anyone that would be interested, do feel free to find us in the networking hub. And then the last part that I wanted to go through is really about how do roadmaps work and how, if we can go to the next slide, how does the kind of certainty and confidence around roadmaps start to reduce the further out we try to look. And this is really important because we want to set realistic expectations. And generally the way we think about it is that there's three different time horizons. The first one is kind of the 1 to 3 month time horizon where we've got a very high level of confidence on what's coming. Most of the items will be in advanced development, in testing, and we have a high level of confidence on the release date as well, so we will communicate that. And the second time horizon is kind of the 3 to 6 month time horizon where we've got a pretty good idea of kind of what we're working on. We won't always know the exact release date yet, and changes could still happen. And then there's the 6+ month time horizon where we've got a pretty good idea still of kind of the larger themes and the larger areas that we'll be working on, but we won't always know kind of what features that translates to or the exact timeline for that. And things will definitely change within that time horizon. And that's essentially the structure that we'll be using during the roadmap presentation today as well. And so the roadmap will consist of 5 different sections. So first of all, we'll provide some highlights on what's recently been released just to make sure that everyone's aware. There's some really good stuff that has come in over the last few months alone. Then we'll talk a little bit about what's changed since the last roadmap presentation a few months ago. And then we'll talk about kind of this first time horizon, what's coming next in the next 1 to 3 months with release dates. Then we'll talk about what are some of the highlights within the 3 to 6 month time horizon. And then we'll talk about what are some of the highlights within the 6+ months. We won't have time for everything, but we'll provide some highlights. So with that, I'll hand it over to Wade, who's going to run us through the detail of the roadmap, and he's going to start off with some highlights on what's recently been released. Over to you, Wade.
Awesome. Thanks, Nico. As always, I want to start with some recent improvements that have been released over the course of the last 3 months and since the last roadmap that took place in April. So grading with rubrics supports instructional transparency, and it allows students to be able to clearly see what they will be graded against when completing an assessment. We continue to lean into improvements in our rubric tool. Alongside the work that we did to make the rubric tool easier to access in the grading workflow, we've also been working on deepening the functionality of the tool itself. So we recently released rubrics that now have the option to have feedback by criterion. This really allows instructors to dynamically give feedback on individual rows versus having to give all of that feedback in a more summative fashion. Dropping a score for students is really an efficiency model for instructors. By allowing the lowest score to be removed from a grade, the instructor can actually indicate that there's going to be no makeup exams or retest, and that really ultimately saves instructors precious time. Now, the same could be said for highest score. I mean, I'm sure we've all seen those movies where, the student gets the answers to the test and everyone scores higher because of that. With this feature, you have the option to actually drop the highest score as well, thus mitigating that student's effort to try and game the system. I referenced that as a movie because I know that would never happen in real life. Now, actually, we just released a major enhancement for our Middle Eastern clients with the introduction of full right-to-left language support inside of Learn Ultra. This capability is out in production since June, and it provides our clients some great capabilities, such as a full right-to-left flipped user interface across Ultra, including our base navigation, Ultra course view, and our admin panel. This also includes enhancements to the ultra-rich text editor, and it allows those users to write in right-to-left languages and to adjust the text direction display. Finally, it also provides the system-level Arabic and Hebrew language support, and also in Ultra Course View, it enforces language enforcement as well. Blackboard has long promoted standards such as the basis for third-party developers and partners to customize and extend our EdTech platform. As we continue to evolve Ultra and supporting deeper, more seamless integrations, we're pleased to announce a very recent enhancement around our proctoring framework. This framework is built on top of the very latest IMS proctoring standards, and it was defined and created by proctoring and assessment organizations. And we're proud to be the first LMS provider to be certified against this new standard. We also have combined these standards with our deep premium APIs to support the best possible end user experience for both instructors and students. Blackboard is excited to announce a deeper partnership with Concentric Sky. They're the makers of the Badger credentialing solution. Blackboard and the Badger team have been working closely together to support access to digital credentials within Blackboard Learn and supporting use cases on how instructors can award badges to students based on key triggers and how institutions can manage the creation and deployment of learning pathways. Now, the free solution, Badger Spaces, is available to all Learn SaaS deployments. This is going to allow instructors and issuers to create and award badges. Now, Badger Pro is a premium service that provides more in-depth capabilities around institutional management of learner pathways, the learner record support, and gives the option for a leaderboard capability as well. Now, finally, there's the option to create a Blackboard assignment objective, which allows learners to complete LMS objectives by completing Blackboard linked assignments. That's pretty cool. All right, we spent a few moments highlighting some of the more recent features that have been in our more recent releases, but we still have many more that we could talk about. Items like conditional release by user or group that allows instructors to deliver a more personalized experience for students, or the new tab-based navigation in which we took feedback from early adopters that were looking for a way to be able to grade with the rubric and also work through the paper at the same time. We've also released a new support panel that gives session data. We know that when issues occur, it's often hard to diagnose and often hard to reproduce those when support is there to help. This option has helped countless instructors and administrators understand what led to the problem happening, thus reducing frustration as they try to replicate the issue. And the last item I'll touch on is our base navigation. We have a new indication of unread messages. It's a small but mighty improvement that allows users to see the number of new messages they have received across all their course enrollments, regardless whether it be original or ultra course views. All right, now we're going into this new section about what has changed since the last time we spoke. We're going to start off with an unexpected project that we've had to insert into our roadmap regarding the capability to search in and attach files from cloud services such as Google Drive, OneDrive, Dropbox, and Box. We previously licensed a third-party software solution that's unfortunately been discontinued. And so we're transitioning in the next few weeks, actually, to another solution based on an open source library. Now, this new solution is going to be backwards compatible, so no Learn upgrade is required. And when you see and access those cloud services today, they're going to automatically update, and it'll just be a slightly changed file browsing experience for you to use those same cloud services as you do right now. Now, last roadmap session, we communicated that tables would be released in July. However, due to some unanticipated technical complexities and the need to work on some other smaller but important items, our timelines have changed. We're now targeting the October release. As you know, tables are an effective option to enhance the quality of an Ultra document. Tables offer a different visual element that can effectively capture and present information when done well. Now, this work is going to allow users to create a table on all form factors. So creating a table on a tablet or a smartphone just got really easy. Controls are straightforward and intuitive once the table's been established, and that's in order to maximize efficiency and the maintenance on the table itself. And then finally, our early adopters have been asking for better ways to customize the Ultra Gradebook, and we've of course been listening. We previously anticipated this being in our July release. However, as we got close to releasing it, we knew we were going to need a little bit more time to complete it. This is a big change, and it's going to allow users of the Grade Center to be able to filter by groups, but we're also providing a new method that allows students to apply, or users to apply multiple filters at once, and you'll no longer just have to kind of know what filter options are available to you. With this work, we're adding a new side panel that will show filters that will allow you to apply multiple filters to the gradebook at one time. This change in experience will allow us to create even more filter options faster, and it will continue to give greater visibility to instructors on the options that are available to them. Now, while we won't have this option to save filters in the first version, you will be able to bookmark them on your browser, and the filters will stay applied to you if you use this method. All right, so as Nico mentioned, we're going to start looking a little further out at the next 1 to 3 months in terms of what we're going to be improving. So first up is Microsoft Teams. So Blackboard support for Microsoft Teams has really evolved since the early stages of 2020, when the COVID pandemic kind of drove that shift to remote learning. At that time, Microsoft and Blackboard partnered together to create the Microsoft Teams Meeting Scheduler LTI app for the Blackboard Learn LMS. Now, fast forward into 2021, Microsoft and Blackboard are partnering again on a more fully featured Microsoft Teams class integration. This is available on Blackboard Learn Ultra Course View. Now, this integration combines the benefits of a core data exchange between Blackboard Learn and Microsoft Azure AD. And we're also utilizing the LTI open standard and the power of Blackboard's premium API frameworks, really making it simple for educators to use Teams classes within their Blackboard Learn Ultra course because those rosters are going to be synced automatically. This integration will support all the functions you see in this slide, and we're actually continuing to include additional improvements on this integration post general availability, specifically around course rollover and archiving processes. We're also very excited to deliver the first in a planned series of improvements to the Ultra course overview page with a new top navigation menu update. Now, this change was based on feedback from the community that the existing iconography was used for, that was previously used for navigating within the Ultra course, that it was actually sometimes confusing. And we took this feedback on board and we changed the iconography to text and moved it from the right side to the left side. And this really aligns more to what users expect in terms of navigation in an online environment. We've also moved the existing student preview button from the details and actions page menu over to the top navigation control as well. And this is going to allow that capability to be utilized by instructors regardless of where they are in the course. And we haven't stopped there. We've also made this new navigation menu sticky so that as users scroll down the page, the menu will follow the user, allowing them for ease of navigation in and around all the Ultra course. One of the most powerful elements of being on SaaS is the ability for us to keep, all clients on the latest and greatest version of the product. However, we do understand that there are times during the year that are not ideal for releases of a larger feature. So with that in mind, we needed to adapt our processes so that institutions have an element of control to roll out these larger changes on their timeline. So in order to ensure that there's adequate time to review these Ultra features, administrators will now have the ability to review and turn on certain features over a period of time. Now, the initial capabilities will allow administrators to turn on a feature site-wide to all users. Now, features will eventually be defaulted to on, but the ability provides administrators with the flexibility to review, prepare, and turn on features in a more convenient time for them. Now, these new feature settings will be available in the admin panel, and it's part of the August release. So it's important to note that this will not be for every feature. And it's also that the timeline to move forward with a feature is going to vary depending on the complexity of the feature itself. So as we get closer to utilizing this more and more, please continue to look for details on how we determine how features will have a flag and how long the flag will be attached to them. Another project in active development, and one that I'm quite excited about, is progress tracking. Now, our alpha version of progress tracking will be released in August. It will include the ability for academics and teachers to turn on or off progress tracking for students only if no activity has taken place in the course. This includes the student preview users. So be very careful when you're putting your course together that if you want progress tracking on, that you've done no student activity in the course. Now, this alpha version will also only be available in English. Now, the following month, progress tracking will be available in all languages. And in October, the limitation of having no student activity in the course will be removed. And so instructors at that time will be able to turn the feature on anytime that they wish. I honestly think that this is a great example of how we're able to do quick follow-ups from our initial release, but we're also able to provide value along the way. Looking a little further out, we're going to start looking at items that are kind of in that 3 to 6 month phase and that are in active development. Building on the momentum of phase 1 of our course overview, phase 2 is currently under development with planned support for a new banner option for academics that will allow them to provide visual evidence to the student that they've landed in the right place. And it also gives the course room a little more visual appeal overall. Now, that banner image will be especially important for our younger students who are still growing in their reading skills. Now, we continue to work with a number of clients regarding later milestones of this particular feature, and we want to be adaptive to their needs as we learn more about the feature and the value of this added space. Building on the support of phase 1 of progress tracking, the phase 2 delivery is going to focus providing more detailed direct analytical visualizations of students' progress to our academics in order to track engagement and help support the progress in the course overall. Now, I know we touched on phase 1 a little earlier, but I wanted to dig into this concept a little bit more because the principles of progression can be found in many walks of life. But I like to think about it as more of a modern day game theory, right? So, using something like progress tracking allows students to feel, elements of success along the way, and it gives them a light form of encouragement from the system itself. It also gives a student the feeling that they're being successful as they progress through the course because they'll be able to visually understand that progress is being made. This is also going to help students know, where they need to spend their time at in future sessions, and it'll be much easier for them to reorientate themselves to the last place they were working prior to ending the previous session. A core focal point for enhancements is Learn is around inclusiveness and how Blackboard can support diversity, equity, and inclusion in all of our platforms. In this regard, we've spent an extensive amount of time researching student groups and institutional leaders. We've sent out surveys to gain qualitative feedback. And what we have learned is that we need to strike the right balance between institutional data processes, user control, and transparency. In this regard, we've embarked on a multi-milestone project with first with pronouns and name pronunciation, and later we're going to be giving students the choice to display their given name or any additional names that they have chosen. Now, in the first phase, pronouns and name pronunciation, students determine their preferred pronouns generally in the system of record, but they'll also have the ability to do it within Learn. Students can also set a name pronunciation, and if that's going to make this feature actually more relevant to even more students. And this can be displayed to classmates and to instructors within key interaction points. Now later, as we give students the choice between showing their display name, their given name, or an additional name, students will be able to actually see the displayed name that the student chooses to, and the instructors can actually see both. And that's great because then they can relate the student back to other systems of record. And based on feedback, we're working on projects to give admins better ways to manage the use of storage on their environments. One project is to provide administrators the option to set a maximum file size on the system. Users will be warned in their natural workflow that they cannot upload the file if it's too large. They're also going to be informed which files were too big, right? So admins can also optionally recommend other storage to users, such as licensed cloud storage or video streaming services. I know this will be great news for administrators once it comes out. Another area that was identified in our research with students was the idea of micro reactions, like kind of small, quick, direct ways to provide feedback, but also to help foster that sense of belonging. Another reason why this is interesting is because it actually generates more sentiment-like insights, which is not something that we have today and could be used in interesting ways by rolling it up to the instructor level or even the institution level. Now, we're just beginning development on the ability to add a student workflow where students will be able to give feedback to instructors on different types of content within the courses. Now, this feedback will be aggregated and displayed to the instructor in an anonymous fashion. Looking a little bit further out thematically, one of the first themes that we have is aligned to that best-in-class pillar, and we're continuing to expand our support and deepen those integrations with cloud providers such as Microsoft and Google. In partnership with Microsoft and with research feedback obtained from Global Climates, our initial development targeting the Microsoft Teams end user experience is just the beginning, and we have way more that we want to do with this. So some of those enhanced features are going to be around Teams class and Teams meetings. We're also expanding integration support to a wider M365 file and collaborative workflows. And beyond that, we're going to be offering capabilities for universal design for learning by leveraging Microsoft's immersive reader. There's even more that we're talking to Microsoft about as we continue to strengthen and deepen our relationship. Already in Learn Ultra, you can assign parallel markers, essentially an initial use case for delegated grading. So another planned project is to be able to distribute marking responsibilities to different graders by group membership, making it easier to assign tutorial groups and other groupings to graders and assistants. And we also understand that test security is very important, so we're looking for multiple ways to improve that framework. And we're going to start with questions displaying one at a time to the students, but we'll also continue to lean in on the work we did late last year and offer more result display options as well. These again are just examples of what our focus could be. Finally, you can expect us to have a big focus on extending and improving core workflows. This includes a variety of things. For example, there's a number of new grading and assessment capabilities that we're planning to add, but also specific focus on usability, efficiency, and kind of an emotional state. The fact, that learning environment can be a cold place. This is definitely an area where there's going to be lots of opportunity to engage in feedback and testing. So as Nico said, stay tuned for future opportunities. Speaking of staying tuned, we have so many opportunities for you to engage with us. Please consider joining us for Ultra Advisory Group, where we can show concepts of future releases, explore new opportunities for improvements in Ultra, as well as have an open forum for user feedback. If you can't make it there, post something in our community forums or just join us for office hours. We have so many wonderful clients that engage us regularly, but we always welcome new faces and new perspectives at these meetings. Finally, come chat with us. We will be available to talk roadmap or any other topic you'd like to converse about. It's actually a great way to give feedback to product management, and we are eager to hear it. Please don't forget to rate our session today, and I hope everyone has a wonderful Blackboard world and a great rest of your day.